warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Hayya ala salah. Hayya ala salah. Hayya ala falah. Hayya ala falah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah.
Alhamdulillah. نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبد الله ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. أما بعد، فإن خير الكلام كلام الله وخير الهدي هدي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. Serving all praise of Allah. We mention Allah's names, His attributes, and His actions, which are utterly perfect, absolutely lofty, and far from any imperfection or deficiency. We seek Allah's help. We seek His assistance and His aid. We ask Him for forgiveness, for pardon, for refuge, for our shortcomings, our transgressions, and our exceeding the boundaries, and going beyond the limitations that He has made for us. Those limits that aren't made just to be a punishment for us, or a hardship for us, or to confine and to restrict us and to make our lives difficult. But those limitations and those boundaries that have been set as a means of mercy. A means of mercy for our bodies, our souls, and our minds. And Allah knows that beyond that boundary, beyond that parameter, beyond that wall or that gate is harm. It's harm for our bodies, harm for our minds, and the sanity and the safety and the health of our minds. And of course, harm for our souls. So we ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to forgive us for these shortcomings and these mistakes, and to pardon us. We seek refuge in Allah from the evils of our souls, our anger problems, short tempers, our egos, and us being blinded by the reality of life, by the reality of this deen, because of our egos, and what I feel, and what it should be, and what I should be doing, and what you should be doing for and with me. Our egos, our arrogance, our pride. We seek refuge in Allah from being scared and afraid. We seek refuge in Allah from being overcome by our fear. Because fear is a natural emotion. It's a natural instinct. It's something that you don't control. It happens to the bravest warrior. He can become afraid and scared. But what happens next? Do you succumb to the fear? Do you give in to the fear? Or do you fight yourself and stifle it and overcome it? You may win a battle or a fight, and afterwards they say, well, how'd you win? He says, I was scared. I threw those punches because I was scared. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that you were afraid. You won. You overcame your fear. You did what you had to do. And that's not the same as a person becoming afraid, being scared, and then succumbing to the fear. We ask Allah to protect us from being cowards. Being cowards of ourselves, being cowards of shaitan, being cowards, afraid to make tawbah, afraid to stop a sin, and afraid to go to the other side, which is the true side. You weren't born as a sinner. It's not what Muslims believe. We were not born as disobedient to Allah. We were born to accept Allah's laws, to submit. But you were exposed to the sin. You were exposed to the disobedience. You became addicted. It became a practice. And now you've been making a sin for such a long time that you become scared of leaving it off. You become scared of thinking, what would it be like a day without this? It's not going to feel right. I've been doing it all of these years. How people want to look at me? It's going to be weird. Why? If I stop now, that's cowardice. That's being afraid. Or you can be afraid of the people themselves when you command Allah's laws. Your wife, you say, fear Allah. Don't do that. That's haram. You can't do that with our children. Oh, now you're righteous now? You pious now? You went to a class? You brainwashed now? You think you're better than me now? You think you're better than us now? You think you're special now? And then you leave off and joining the good and forbidding the evil because you're afraid and you're scared of the people. That's something that we ask Allah to protect us from. And all of the negativities and the base elements and the bad things, the nasty things that can be within a human being. The sayyats, the shurur. And when we fall victim to those impulses, to those negative elements, and we make sin, we ask Allah to forgive us and to pardon us. I declare and I bear witness that Allah deserves to be worshipped alone without any partner. And I declare and I bear witness that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is a slave and messenger. To proceed, my dear brothers and sisters on Islam, the Quran al-Kareem is full of questions. The Quran is a book in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions many questions. Sometimes Allah asks us a question. And other times Allah tells us what other people said of questions. They asked you. They asked Moses. Moses was asked. They asked you concerning. And Allah asks us, are you? Have you? Do you? Many, many questions in the Quran al-Kareem. And from those questions is that which Allah Azza wa Jalla says. And of course Allah knows the answer. What we would call a rhetorical question. Allah knows the answer, but He asks this question. أَأَنْتُمْ أَشَدُّ خَلْقًا أَمِ السَّمَاءِ بَنَاهَا. Allah says, are you stronger? Are you mightier? Are you more difficult and complex than the heavens? You, man, human being. The smarts that you have, the strength that you have, the beauty that you have, how you think and how you go and traverse the world and the earth. أَأَنْتُمْ أَشَدُّ خَلْقًا أَمِ السَّمَاءِ. Which is harder to make? Which is more complex? Which is more beautiful to look at? Which is greater and higher? You or the sky? You or the heavens? We all know the answer to this question. But Allah, He poses this question and He asks us. And in this question, we understand and we benefit that no matter how arrogant we become, how self-centered we may become, and how great we think we are, we're actually weak. And we're one of the smallest and most minute and most inferior creatures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you actually look at it and think about it, look at the sky, how it changes colors, how it's a canopy over everywhere you go. Look when it's blue, when it's white, when it's gray, when it's black, when it's red, when it's pink. In the summertime, there's a thunderstorm, the sky is yellow. Look at the clouds, look at the stars, the moons, the planets, lightning. Look at the birds that fly in the sky. So many different levels of complexity to the sky. And how Allah made it and created it and fashioned it. And what do scientists say about the sky and about travel and exploration and the stratosphere and the atmosphere and the environment and space, and the list goes on. أَأَنْتُمْ أَشَدُّ خَلْقًا أَمِ السَّمَاءِ. Who's greater? Who's stronger? You or the heavens? Allah says, بَنَاهَا. He built it. He structured it. He created it. So this verse, it teaches us and it tells us that man, in light of other things that Allah has made and created, is weak in comparison. In comparison. And there are other verses in the Quran al-Kareem that don't give a comparison, but lay down the reality that man is weak. Everything about man is weak. يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ أَن يُخَفِّفَ عَنْكُمْ وَخُلِقَ الْإِنسَانُ ضَعِيفًا. Allah says Allah wants to make things easy for you. Allah wants to lessen your burden. Allah wants to make things slight upon you. And man has been made in weakness. وَخُلِقَ الْإِنسَانُ ضَعِيفًا. Man has been made weakly. He's been made in a state of weakness. He himself is weak. And there are many manifestations of the weakness of the human being. Many manifestations. From that is the weakness of the physical body. No matter how strong you think you are, and how formidable you think you are, all it takes is one small cut, a paper cut, a staple, a piece of glass, a nail, and you can't walk, you can't touch. You jam your thumb playing football or basketball. Can you play? You've broken your thumb, you twisted your ankle. The flesh is tender. All it takes is one bullet, one knife, one sword, one spear to enter you, and that's it. You check it out. It's no more fighting, there's no more playing, because your body is fragile. No matter how many muscles or how much muscles you may think that you have, but the body is weak. Let alone the reality that there was a time when you didn't have those muscles, and you weren't as tall, you weren't as fast, you weren't as agile. Let alone the fact that there is a time of waning. You're strong in your peak, 20, 30, and then you start to decline, 40, 45, 50, 60, 70, and you don't have as much energy as you used to have. Your back isn't as strong as it used to be. Your legs aren't as powerful as they were. Your arms, your weakness, it fades and it wanes. And then your teeth fall out. And your hair becomes gray and white. You lose your hair, your face wrinkles. And you lose your prowess as a man. Your lust for women is now weak or gone. And if you do have a lust for women, it's not the same anymore. And a woman, her beauty fades. Her skin cracks and wrinkles. How gorgeous she once was is not the same. And she can't reproduce. And her desires and her feelings, they are not the same. And the body, it declines and declines and declines and declines until death, the ultimate state of weakness. And we can reverse it when you were a baby. Your mother carried you. Your father picked you up. They had to take you to the bathroom. They had to clean you and feed you and train you and show you how to walk up the steps and down the steps. Everything you had to learn from someone. Man is made weak. He's made in a state of weakness. And those men who are strong and powerful, there's someone who's stronger than you and more powerful than you. You go to the gym as much as you like. You can eat as much protein as much as you like. Take as many steroids as much as you like. There's someone who's bigger and more brawny than you. As a woman, there's someone who's more beautiful than you are. There's someone who's more delicate than you are. There's someone whose figure is more perfect than yours. You're always going to be weak in contrast. So this is one of the manifestations of this verse. وَخُلِقَ الْإِنسَانُ ضَعِيفًا. Man has been made in a state of weakness. And another manifestation of the weakness of man is his resolve and his determination and his lack of concentration. You want a thing, but you don't really go after that thing. You go after that thing, but then you become distracted and you lose focus after a week or a month or a year or 5 years. And that is why people who make legacies, they hold on to those legacies so greatly. This is my life's work. 40 years I was in a laboratory day and night, eating, sleeping in a laboratory to find a cure for this illness, to eradicate this sickness. It's my life's work. I eat. My colleagues, they started and they stopped. Their funding was cut off. They didn't have the determination to continue the arduous path of finding a cure. 40 years it took me. 40 years. Most people, they quit and they stop. And this is from the manifestations of a human being's weakness, is that he doesn't have determination. He starts a thing and he stops a thing. Ask yourselves this question. How many things have you quit? How many things you wanted to do when you were younger? You used to go to school. Did you finish? You went to school. Did you get a career in your field? You graduated from Temple or UPenn, Drexel. Are you practicing what you studied? How many jobs have you quit? How many marriages? How many times have you been divorced? How many communities have you jumped from? Man doesn't have determination. And this is from the manifestations of weakness. As Allah says, وَخُلِقَ الْإِنسَانُ ضَعِيفًا. And there's another major manifestation of weakness. A major point to show how weak man truly is, that we're going to mention بِإِذْنِ ta'ala in the second khutbah. بارك الله لي ولكم في القرآن العظيم ونفعني وإياكم بما فيه من الآيات والعبر والآيات والذكر الحكيم. أقول ما سمعتم واستغفر الله تعالى لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو البر التواب. Alhamdulillah wa kafa wa salatullahi wa salamuhu ala ibadihi alladhina istafa amma ba'd. From the manifestations of man's weakness is what Allah Azza wa Jalla says, وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الرُّوحِ قُلِ الرُّوحُ مِنْ أَمْرِ رَبِّي وَمَا أُوتِيتُم مِّنَ الْعِلْمِ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا. Allah says, and they ask you concerning the ruh. They ask you, Muhammad, the pagans, the people who are not Muslim, and maybe some of your followers, they ask you about this thing which is called the ruh. Is it the soul? Is it the self? The internal self. They ask you about this being called the ruh, the soul or the spirit. قُلِ الرُّوحُ مِنْ أَمْرِ رَبِّي. Tell them, respond to them, that this is something that Allah knows about. Allah knows what it is. He knows the ins and the outs of the soul. Min amri Rabbi. It's from the affair of my Lord. Something that He knows exclusively. We know some things about the soul. Certain things we can understand and comprehend about the soul. But encompassing the soul is only something that Allah has the ability to do. وَمَا أُوتِيتُم مِّنَ الْعِلْمِ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا. Allah says, in the knowledge that you have been given, not the knowledge that you have learnt, the knowledge that you've studied, the knowledge that you have obtained through your struggle and sacrifice and thousands of dollars in your education. Allah doesn't say that. Allah says, وَمَا أُوتِيتُم. The knowledge that you have been given, إِلَّا قَلِيلًا. It's just a little bit. Not a lot of knowledge. The smartest, most intellectual, most intelligent person has only been given a little bit of knowledge. And from that is before, during, and after. Before, you didn't know. That's why you had to learn. That's why you had to study. That's why you had to go to school. That's why you had to go to camp. That's why an older person had to take you under their wing and school you and show you the ropes and how life works. During, you learn something and then retaining it is different. I forgot what I just read. I forgot what I just heard. How many people leave this masjid right now today and they say that the Imam was talking about the sky? He was talking about, what was the khutbah about? At Masjid Mujahid, he was talking about heaven. How many people won't retain the khutbah? Won't memorize, won't understand the true message behind the speech? How many of us? Myself. Ask me about last week's khutbah. What was last week's khutbah about? You gave. I may forget. And after, of course, is the disease and the illness of Alzheimer's, in which your mind becomes blank or partially blank. And there's someone who is the closest person to you. There's someone whom you love so much, and you go to an age in which you can't even remember them. And I remember vividly my aunt, who wasn't a Muslim, had a very, very bad case of this illness. And it was only two people that she remembered from her whole entire family. That was her older sister, my grandmother, and me. Everyone else she forgot. Her husband, her son, her mother. There was no one else that she could remember. I remember this vividly as a young boy, going to see her in her house and going to see her when they put her in that home. And she couldn't remember no one. And I said, SubhanAllah, your husband, your son, your favorite meal, the places that you used to like to go, blank. So this is from the manifestation or the manifestations of man's weakness, is that his knowledge is at best flawed. And his knowledge at best is limited before, during, and after. You have to learn, step number one. Step number two, when you learn, you can't learn everything. You can't study everything. You can't memorize everything. You can't encompass everything. And this is something even the non-Muslims understand. And oftentimes, unfortunately, they understand it better than some of the Muslims. You go to a hospital, or you go to an establishment of law or business. Floor 3. This room, that room, this wing, and that extension. The physician will say, I don't deal with that. That's not my specialty. He's the expert on that. The brain surgeon does not deal with the bones and the skin and the heart and the blood. There's another physician for that. You go get your car fixed. He said, you got to go to a Mercedes-Benz. I can fix it, but I don't want to, mess around with it. That's the foreign car. That's different. That's Audi. That's Chevrolet. It's different divisions. And the people, they know their limitations. And this person is a master brain surgeon. And if he broke his finger, he wouldn't know what to do. He may not know how to fry an egg because his knowledge at best is flawed. Before, during, and after. And there's no sin in this. And there's no shame in this. Allah the Mighty and Most High, He tells us, وَلَقَدْ عَهِدْنَا إِلَىٰ آدَمٍ مِّن قَبْلُ فَنَسِي. Allah says, and indeed we gave Adam a covenant, something that was binding that he had to fulfill. فَنَسِيَ, but he forgot. وَلَمْ نَجِدْ لَهُ عَزْمًا. Allah says, and we did not find him to be resolute. He wasn't resolute. We told him not to listen to shaitan, not to listen to this enemy. Don't eat from the tree. Do not approach the tree. وَلَا تَقْرَبَا هَذِهِ الشَّجَرَةِ. Don't go near it, let alone eat it. And he forgot. The Prophet ﷺ, who received revelation from Allah, who was taught by Jibreel, whose heart was washed, he was protected by Allah, divinely supported by Allah Almighty and Most High. One day he was in the masjid, and he made an error in the prayer. He made a mistake. And some of the companions, the Hadith of Bukhari and Muslim, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud narrated, the companions, they said, أَحَدَثَ فِي الصَّلَاةِ شَيْءٌ يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ. Oh Messenger of Allah, did something happen in the prayer? Is there a new rule? Is the prayer now 5 raka'ah instead of 4? Is it 3? Is it 2? Has Allah sent you some new revelation? They asked the Prophet ﷺ. The Messenger of Allah ﷺ, he said, لَوْ حَدَثَ شَيْءٌ فِي الصَّلَاةِ لَأَنْبَأْتُكُمْ بِهِ. He said that there was some new revelation. If something came down, I would have told you about it. If there was a new way of making a prayer, I would have informed you. وَلَكِنْ, he says, however, nothing has taken place. إِنَّمَا أَنَا بَشَرٌ أَنْسَى كَمَا تَنْسُونَ فَإِذَا نَسِيتُ فَذَكِّرُونِي. He says, I'm a human being, and I forget just like you forget. Just like you make a mistake and an error, just like something passes your mind, the same thing happens to me because I'm a human being. I'm not made from light. I'm a human. I have flesh. أَنْسَى كَمَا تَنْسُونَ. I forget like you forget. And when I forget, فَذَكِّرُونِي, then remind me. The Prophet of Islam forgot. The Prophet of Islam, he made an error in the prayer. He was a human being. So with this being said, brothers and sisters, how much have we forgotten? How much have we forgotten? Literally, physically, or technically, how much have we forgotten? Information that we used to know, we no longer know. But deeper than that, and greater than that, are the promises, and the covenants, and the agreements, and the contracts, and the oaths that we have made that we have forgotten. I don't feel like giving a khutbah today. I'm tired. I have a migraine. I'm stressed out. I have my own sins to worry about that I'm battling and fighting shaitan with. I don't feel like standing in front of you saying, fear Allah. Ittaqillah, you fear Allah. I need to fear Allah. I don't feel like giving a khutbah today. I don't want to speak to the people today. I'm tired of people asking me questions. I have a question, I have a question, I have a question. Have you forgotten, Yahi, that you yourself went overseas and studied? Have you forgotten that you took the knowledge that Allah gave you? Have you forgotten that you accept the good that comes with the status of being a leader and imam? So you can't just pick and choose the responsibility. I can't just say, I feel like talking and I don't feel like talking, unless I have forgotten and I need to be reminded. With أَخَذَ اللَّهُ مِيثَاقَ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ. Allah says, and remember when your Lord took the covenant of those who have been given the scripture, meaning the learned men. Remember this. لَتُبَيِّنُنَّهُ لِلنَّاسِ وَلَا تَكْتُمُونَهُ. And this covenant, and this promise, and this agreement is that you will explain to the people, teach the people, and not hide the knowledge. Did you forget that? Do you need to be reminded? You complain about your wife. You mistreat your wife. You abuse your wife. You divorce your wife. Did you forget that Brother Flan, he married you to his daughter? Did you forget that contract that you made? Do you accept Sister Layla's hand in marriage according to the Quran and Sunnah? And you said, I do. You signed the paper. You took the agreement. That's that man's daughter that he gave you. And now you want to mistreat her and disregard her and discard her. Have you forgotten that that's someone's daughter that that man trusted you with? I raised my daughter from yay high. I fed her every meal. I taught her the Fatiha. I sent her to school. I played ball with her. I took her to the park. I bought her ice cream cones. I taught her to be a lady, how to be clean. And now I'm giving her to you. And you mistreat her. Have you forgotten, Yahi? Did you forget how happy you were when you got married? Did you forget how you begged the father to let him marry your daughter? Did you forget how many times you called him, how many voicemails you left him? Sheikh, I want to get married. Sheikh, please allow me to marry. Did you forget? Did you forget what you promised for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to support His deen, to spend your wealth, to be there for Islam and for the Muslims. Did you forget this covenant, this oath, this promise that you made to Allah, and the promise that you made to yourself, and the promise that you made to other men, the promises that you made to your leader, the promises that you made to your followers, the promise that you made to your husband, the promise that you made to your daughter, to your wife, your husband, have you forgotten? And if we have forgotten, then we need to be reminded. And we complain, and we say, well, it's been all of these years, and it's been all this long time. Nothing is going to change. Nothing is going to happen. Did Allah put a limit on His help? Did Allah give us a time limit when the help will come? أَمْ حَسِبْتُمْ أَن تَدْخُلُوا الْجَنَّةَ وَلَمَّا يَأْتِكُمْ مَثَلُ الَّذِينَ خَلَوْا مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ. Allah says, you think you're going to paradise? You think you're going to Jannah? And you haven't been tested. And you haven't been put through the afflictions like those who came before. مَسَّتْهُمُ الْبَأْسَاءُ وَالضَّرَّاءُ وَزُلْزِلُوا. Allah says they were afflicted by poverty, sickness, illness, fear from their enemies. وَزُلْزِلُوا. And the earth was shaken terribly. They were terrified, they were scared. حَتَّى يَقُولَ الرَّسُولُ وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مَعَهُ مَتَى نَصْرُ اللَّهِ. So badly, so terribly that the messenger himself and his followers, they said, when is the help of Allah coming? Ya Allah, when is it coming? أَلَا إِنَّ نَصْرَ اللَّهِ قَرِيبٌ. Allah says the help of Allah is close by. The help of Allah is around the corner, as we say, قَرِيبٌ. Allah says, إِنَّ السَّاعَةَ آتِيَةٌ. The hour is coming. And this was sent down over 1400 years ago. And it's one of the things that causes the non-Muslims not to accept Islam. وَيَقُولُونَ مَتَى هَذَا الْفَتْحُ مَتَى هَذَا الْوَعْدُ. When will this promise come? They said it in the time of the Prophet. And it still hasn't come yet. But it's going to come. And now which is close is close. So oftentimes, brothers and sisters, we forget too much. And we need to be reminded. When we complain about our lives, our husbands, our communities, our masjids, our leaders. We complain about our subjects and our followers. All of us, the messages for each and every one of us. Starting with myself firstly. And I have to remind myself when I wake up in the morning. It is not your option to help the people out. It's not your choice. Do I want to answer a question? Do I want to give the class? It's a responsibility and an obligation. And if you don't want that responsibility and you don't want that obligation, then relinquish the benefits. Relinquish being fulan and fulan. We all have responsibilities. And we all must remind ourselves. Allah tells us, وَالْمُؤْمِنُونَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتُ بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءُ بَعْضٍ يَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنكَرِ وَيُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ وَيُؤْتُونَ الزَّكَاةَ وَيُطِيعُونَ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ. The believers are protectors of each other, helpers of each other, friends of each other. Al-Muslim akhul Muslim. The Prophet ﷺ says the Muslim is the fellow of the Muslim, his brother. He doesn't wrong him. He doesn't oppress him. He doesn't forsake him. And he does not turn him over to his enemies. La yuslimuhu. The Muslim does not turn the Muslim over to a non-Muslim. Abadan. Doesn't work like that. The Prophet ﷺ warned us about cheating and deceiving and tricking each other and having hatred and malice and envy and jealousy for each other and reneging on our promises and our covenants that we made for Allah first and foremost. And this is from the attributes of the munafiqeen wa'iyadu billah. They forgot Allah and they forgot the promise that they made to Allah. If Allah gives us from His bounty, if He enriches us, if He gives us a job, if Allah gives me a house, I want to do this. Oh, Allah give me a car and I come to the masjid every day. I'll take the people out. Then when Allah has enriched them, Allah has blessed them, Allah has given them from His bounty, they forgot. And they became stingy and tight-fisted. What's the punishment? فَأَعْقَبَهُمْ. Allah punished them by putting hypocrisy in their hearts. إِلَى يَوْمِ يَلْقَوْنَهُ. Allah says until the day in which they will meet Him. They will be hypocrites perpetually because they broke their promises. And the greatest promise to break is the promise between you and Allah. To worship Him, to obey Him, to submit to Him, to follow His laws, to submit to His commandments. And then the laws and the promises and the covenants that you made with the human beings. You promise to be a good wife, to be an obedient wife, to be a respectful wife, to be a dutiful wife. Your husband is locked up, I'm there. I'm visiting you, I'm sending you money, I'm not getting a divorce. Through thick and through thin. You promise your wife to provide for her, to protect her from harm. You promise to be her imam. And now you want to divorce her and discard her and walk out and abandon her. You're not keeping your promise. You promise to uphold an Islamic community. You promise to spend your wealth. You promise to stay closely knit. 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. There's no time limit. Keep your promise. Keep your covenant. Don't be like those who are weak. Fight your weakness. Remind yourself, remind each other. And ask Allah to protect you from hypocrisy. In the munafiqeen, Allah says that the hypocrites will be in the basest rank of fire. The lowest place in the hellfire is where the munafiqs will be. And that's because they broke their promises. And the Prophet ﷺ, he said 4 things. 4 attributes of hypocrisy proves that a person is a hypocrite. And a person has one of those attributes, فَفِيهِ خَصْلَةٌ مِنَ النِّفَاقِ. Then he has a description of the hypocrites. And another hadith, 3 signs. And from them, إِذَا وَعَدَ أَخْلَفَ. He promises, inshallah, I'm going to do it. I'll be there. I'll protect you. I'll serve you. I'll honor you. I'll lead you. I'll do this. And then he breaks his promise. So the question is, brothers and sisters, have we forgotten? Did we forget our promise? Did we forget our zeal? Did we forget what we signed up for? Did we forget that we said that we would be there for each other, help each other out, support each other, and not give up, and not quit, and not cower, and not turn in flight? Have we forgotten? And most importantly, and most dangerously, is how will we be woken up? How will we be reminded? Will we be reminded peacefully through a khutbah or class or a good word? Or will we be reminded by death? Or will we be reminded when reality is dead in front of our faces? Or worse than that, will we be reminded when it's too late? It's over. The chance has come and gone. So these words, by the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, are clear. And they're right to the point. And that is for each and every one of us to remind ourselves and to reflect and to be conscious and to be mindful of these promises and these oaths that we have made. And we ask Allah to allow us to do that. We ask Allah to bring unity to all of the Muslims. We ask Allah to unite the Muslims upon the truth, to allow them to see it and to accept it. Allahumma arina al-haqqa haqqan warzuqna ittiba'ahu. Allah, show us the truth as the truth and allow us to follow it. Allahumma arina al-batila batilan warzuqna ijtinabahu. Allah, show us the falsehood as falsehood and allow us to abstain therefrom. Allah, support your servants and your slaves who are being oppressed and wronged by your enemies. Allah, destroy those enemies, vanquish them, do away with them, and allow your servants to be free from that persecution, wherever that persecution is. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. أقم الصلاة.